What does it mean to pour your heart into a place, only to have it stripped down to numbers on a screen? I'm Riley Thompson, a 35-year-old veterinarian who thought I'd found my life's calling at Oakwood Animal Clinic in Lexington, Kentucky. For 14 years, I'd built a home here, stitching together trust with every vaccination, every late-night emergency, every tearful goodbye to a beloved pet. But on a crisp April morning in 2025, as I sat across from a man in a suit who didn't know the names of the dogs in our waiting room, I realized that my world was about to change, whether I wanted it to or not. I was in Brian Hayes's office, the new regional manager from Brightpaw Veterinary Partners, who'd taken over Oakwood just 3 weeks earlier. His tablet glowed with charts as he tapped the screen with a manicured finger. "Your profit margins are too low, Riley," he said, his voice clipped and corporate. "I see 3 areas for immediate cost-cutting, starting with employee compensation." I blinked, my coffee mug frozen halfway to my lips. He went on, unfazed. "Nothing personal, Dr. Thompson, just business. Your salary needs to align with industry standards. Effective next pay cycle, it's 60% of your current rate. A 40% pay cut. After 14 years of building this clinic from a 2-room operation into a community cornerstone, my work was worth less than 2/3 of what it had been." My heart pounded, but I managed a calm, "I understand this is a transition period. When would these changes take effect?" Brian barely looked up from his tablet. "Next pay cycle. We'll need your decision by Friday." As I left his office, my mind reeled, replaying the years I'd spent here. I'd started at Oakwood straight out of vet school, a nervous 21-year-old learning to suture wounds and soothe anxious pet owners. Under Dr. Harrington, the clinic's founder, we'd grown into a trusted fixture in Lexington, where families brought their puppies for first shots and their aging cats for final farewells. My apartment walls were a mosaic of thank you cards, photos of pets I'd saved, and crayon drawings from kids whose animals I'd nursed back to health. I'd handwritten sympathy cards after losses and celebrated recoveries with clients who felt like family. My cell phone was saved in countless contacts as Dr. Riley for emergencies. This wasn't just a job, it was my life's work, and now it was being dismantled by a man who saw it as a line item. I paused at the reception desk where Valerie, our receptionist of 12 years, was updating patient records. Her face, usually bright with a smile for every client, was etched with worry. "You too?" I whispered, mindful of the families in the waiting room. A golden retriever sat patiently beside an elderly man. A woman cradled a cat carrier, and a child petted a rabbit in her lap. Valerie nodded, her voice low. 30% cut, plus reduced hours. What are you going to do, Riley?" I glanced at the waiting room, at the trust we'd built over the years, and felt a spark of resolve. "I don't know yet," I said, "but something tells me things are about to change around here." The clinic hummed with its usual rhythm, barking dogs, ringing phones, but beneath it, a shadow loomed. Brightpaw had promised to honor Oakwood's values when Dr. Harrington sold the practice, but Brian's words echoed in my mind, just business. I looked at the photos on the wall, of pets I'd known since they were born, and knew I couldn't let that shadow swallow everything we'd built. How do you decide to walk away from a place that's shaped your soul? That question haunted me as I navigated the next few days at Oakwood Animal Clinic, where the air felt heavier, charged with the unease of change. I'm Riley Thompson, and after 14 years of stitching together Lexington's pet community, I faced a choice: accept a 40% pay cut from Brightpaw Veterinary Partners, or fight for the values I'd spent my career upholding. By Tuesday, as I moved through appointments with the same care I always had, I began to see the cracks in Brightpaw's promises and the first glimmers of a path forward. During lunch in the break room, I sat with Thomas, our newest veterinarian at 32, who'd joined us 6 months ago from a Brightpaw practice in Nashville. His salad sat untouched as he leaned in, his voice low. "You've worked with Brightpaw before, right?" I asked, hoping for insight. He nodded grimly. 3 years. "It's always the same, cost-cutting, then efficiency improvements, then pressure to upsell services." I frowned, suspecting the answer, but needing to hear it. "And the care quality?" Thomas pushed his fork through his salad. "It becomes about numbers, patients per hour, services sold, revenue generated. I left because they pushed unnecessary dental procedures to hit monthly targets. His words landed like a stone, confirming my fears about Oakwood's future. I thought of the families who trusted us, who deserved better than assembly line care. That afternoon, between appointments, I slipped into my office and called Dr. Harrington, Oakwood's retired founder, now living by a lake, working on his veterinary memoir. "Riley, I had no idea," he said, his voice heavy with regret when I told him about the pay cuts. Their representatives swore they valued our culture. I'd never have sold if I'd known. I reassured him, "It's not your fault. You deserved your retirement. I need to make a decision." He paused, then said firmly, "You're thinking of opening your practice, aren't you?" I hesitated, the idea still a fragile seed in my mind. "I'm considering it," I admitted. "You should," he replied. "You've got the experience, the client relationships. Lexington needs a clinic that puts care above corporate margins." His words lit a spark, making the impossible feel within reach. Later, as I prepared to examine Baxter, a 10-year-old beagle I'd treated since puppyhood, Maggie, our head technician, knocked on the exam room door. "Mrs. Peterson's here with Baxter," she said. "She asked for you, even though she's scheduled with Dr. Morris." I smiled, warmed by the loyalty. In the exam room, Mrs. Peterson's face brightened as I checked Baxter's ears. "You're the only one he trusts, Dr. Riley," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Don't know what we'd do without you." Her words hit me hard, a reminder of the bonds I'd built over the years. Bonds Brightpaw undervalued. As I prescribed Baxter's medication, I felt the seed of resistance take root. This wasn't just about my salary anymore. It was about preserving a standard of care that mattered. By the end of the day, as I locked my office, I knew I couldn't stay in a place that saw trust as a liability. The path ahead was unclear, but Mrs. Peterson's words echoed, "The only one he trusts." I wasn't ready to give up on that. When does a single moment crystallize your future? By Friday morning, as I stood outside Brian Hayes' office at Oakwood Animal Clinic, I felt the weight of 14 years pressing against the decision I'd made. I'm Riley Thompson, a 35-year-old veterinarian who'd poured my soul into this Lexington practice, only to face Brightpaw Veterinary Partners' demand for a 40% pay cut. The whispers of resistance, Thomas's warnings, Dr. Harrington's encouragement, Mrs. Peterson's trust, had grown into a resolve I could no longer ignore. Today, I'd draw a line in the sand, not just for me, but for the community I serve. I knocked on Brian's door at precisely 9 a.m., clutching an envelope. He was mid-video call, his back half turned. "I'll call you back," he muttered to the screen, swiveling to face me. "Riley, good. Have you made your decision?" His tone was distracted, as if my answer was a formality. I handed him the envelope, my voice steady. "I have. This is my 2 weeks' notice." His professional mask slipped, revealing a flicker of surprise. "You're quitting over a standard market adjustment?" he asked, leaning back. "I'm pursuing a new opportunity," I corrected, keeping my plans vague. "I wanted to inform you properly, with time to arrange coverage for my patients." Brian studied me, then shrugged, reaching for the letter. "We'll have HR prepare your exit paperwork. I assume you'll join another practice?" I smiled faintly. "Something like that." The news spread through Oakwood like wildfire. By lunchtime, Valerie found me by the filing cabinets, her voice a whisper. "Is it true, Riley?" When I nodded, confirming my last day in 2 weeks, her eyes widened. "What will you do?" I hesitated, then trusted her with the truth. "I'm opening my practice on Maple Avenue." She glanced around, lowering her voice. "That's amazing, Riley." Later, Thomas caught me between appointments, his expression eager. "Keep me posted," he said meaningfully. In the parking lot, Mrs. Davidson, whose cat Oliver I'd cared for since his adoption, stopped me. "I overheard you're leaving," she said, distress in her voice. "Where are you going? Oliver and I will follow you." Her loyalty hit me like a wave, solidifying what I'd begun to understand. I wasn't just a veterinarian to these people, I was their veterinarian. As I drove home, the weight of their trust fueled my determination. This wasn't just a resignation, it was a promise to preserve something sacred. How do you build a dream from the ashes of betrayal? That night, as I sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad and a third cup of tea, I felt the first stirrings of possibility. I'm Riley Thompson, and after resigning from Oakwood Animal Clinic, where Brightpaw's corporate grip threatened the care I'd spent 14 years perfecting, I was charting a new course. The decision to open Riverbank Animal Hospital wasn't just a career move, it was a rebellion against a system that valued profit over trust. With 2 weeks until my final day, I dove into the logistics of turning a vision into reality. My evenings became a blur of research. I scoured commercial real estate listings, zeroing in on a storefront 7 miles across Lexington, a former pediatrician's office with exam rooms and plumbing already in place. I called a local bank where I'd been a customer for a decade, securing a small business loan with terms that felt like a handshake of trust. My laptop glowed with spreadsheets, equipment costs, lease agreements, staffing projections. I reached out to 3 former colleagues who'd launched their practices, their advice a lifeline. Start small, but dream big, one said. The more I planned, the more the idea took shape, like a puzzle snapping together. Riverbank Animal Hospital would be a place where care came first, where clients weren't just revenue streams, but partners in their pet's health. I arranged a discreet meeting with Thomas and Maggie at a coffee shop miles from Oakwood, far from Brightpaw's prying eyes. Over lattes, I laid out my plan. I've secured a location on Riverbank Drive, I said, my voice steady with conviction. It'll be called Riverbank Animal Hospital, opening in about 6 weeks if everything aligns. Maggie, our head technician, raised an eyebrow, thoughtful. My hours get cut in 3 weeks. Interesting timing. Thomas leaned forward, his eyes bright. What's your staffing plan? I met his gaze. I need a veterinarian who shares my philosophy of care and an experienced lead technician. Their smiles were all the confirmation I needed. By the time we left, Riverbank had its first unofficial team members, bound by a shared belief in doing things right. Back in Lexington, I met a medical supplier rep for lunch, a trusted contact from years of equipment orders. We value relationships too, he said, offering favorable terms for Riverbank's startup. We've seen what happens when Brightpaw takes over. Quality tanks. We're happy to back independent practices. His support felt like another piece falling into place, a reminder that I wasn't alone. At Oakwood, I kept my plans quiet, but clients sensed something. During an appointment, Mrs. Thompson, whose terrier Max had an ear infection, lowered her voice. So where will your new practice be, Dr. Riley? Max won't see anyone else. I deflected carefully, aware of the new microphone on the exam room computer, part of Brightpaw's quality assurance program. I haven't finalized anything yet, I said, but her knowing nod told me word was spreading. Each conversation strengthened my resolve. Valerie slipped a note onto my desk, listing 20 clients who'd called asking about me, with a postscript. When you're ready to hire a receptionist, call me first. At home, I added her name to my staffing list, my legal pad now a blueprint for a future I could taste. The challenges were daunting. Temporary equipment rentals, tight timelines, but the momentum was undeniable. As I finalized the lease agreement, my phone buzzed with a text from Maggie. Whatever you're planning, count me in. I smiled, the weight of Brightpaw's shadow lifting. Riverbank wasn't just a building. It was a promise to the families, pets, and colleagues who believed in me. With every step, I was crafting a place where trust would always come first. When does a fight for what's right force you to confront how far you'll go? In my final week at Oakwood Animal Clinic, as I counted down to my last day, Brightpaw veterinary partners tightened their grip, testing my resolve. I'm Riley Thompson, a 35-year-old veterinarian who'd resigned to start Riverbank Animal Hospital, carrying the trust of Lexington's pet families with me. But Brightpaw wasn't letting go without a fight, and their tactics, exploitative protocols, patient reassignments, legal threats, pushed me to protect the values I'd pledged to uphold, no matter the cost. On Wednesday, a breakroom bulletin board revealed Brightpaw's latest move. A new fee schedule with 30% price hikes. Basic vaccinations jumped from $45 to $65. Dental cleanings from $300 to $425. Worse, Comprehensive wellness packages bundled unnecessary tests, like 3 redundant screens for healthy pets, priced at $500. Jenna, a young vet tech, whispered, "They're not even hiding it anymore." My stomach churned when I saw Mrs. Whitaker, on a fixed income, bring in her elderly cat, Chairman Meow, for an arthritis check. The protocol demanded I push the senior panel, despite normal results 2 months prior. "Is this necessary so soon?" she asked, concern etching her face. I replied carefully, "In my professional opinion, we could wait 4 months." But Brian Hayes, hovering via the new electronic monitoring system, burst into the exam room. "Mrs. Whitaker, I'm Brian, regional manager," he said with a practiced smile. "Let's schedule Chairman's senior wellness package today." His pressure tactics, implying neglect, dangling a one-time discount, coerced her agreement, her hands tightening on her purse. After she left, Brian pulled me aside. "When we recommend a protocol, Riley, we expect full support." I kept my voice low but firm. "Those tests are unnecessary. This isn't healthcare, it's revenue." He smirked. "It's standardized care. Your attachment clouds your judgment." That night, updating Chairman Meow's file, I found a chilling note. "Patient transfer to Dr. Morris, effective immediately. Dr. Thompson is no longer the primary veterinarian." A quick check showed my entire patient list reassigned. Brightpaw was severing my client bonds before I could leave. At 2 a.m., I emailed my lawyer. "Need to accelerate Riverbank's timeline. How soon can we open? Even limited." Her reply came swiftly. "With temporary equipment and creative scheduling, potentially 2 weeks." Sleep finally came, fueled by a fire to outpace Brightpaw's schemes. The next day, Brian called me into his office, his confidence now laced with irritation. "Clients are asking about your plans," he said, tapping his pen. "You're aware of your non-solicitation obligations?" I nodded calmly. "I've been clear. I have no concrete plans to announce." He leaned forward. "Brightpaw won't tolerate attempts to undermine our investment." I held his gaze, unmoved. Late that afternoon, he offered to reconsider my pay cut, a desperate pivot I declined. My vision for Riverbank was set, and no last-minute bribe could sway me. What does it feel like to build a home for trust, against all odds? 17 days after leaving Oakwood Animal Clinic, I stood in Riverbank Animal Hospital's freshly painted lobby, heart racing as Lexington's pet families proved their loyalty. I'm Riley Thompson, a 35-year-old veterinarian who defied Brightpaw's corporate chokehold to create a practice where care trumped profit. As Riverbank's doors opened, I realized this wasn't just a new beginning. It was a testament to a community that refused to let trust be bought. Our soft opening was meant to test systems with a handful of appointments, as I'd only contacted 20 clients with urgent pet needs. But at 8:45 a.m., I peered out the window to see a line stretching across our parking lot and down the sidewalk. Families clutching leashes, carriers, even a tortoise in a box. "Did you call all these people?" Thomas, my second veterinarian, asked, eyes wide. "No," I said, stunned. Valerie, now our receptionist, grinned from the desk. "Word got around." As we opened, familiar faces poured in. Mrs. Peterson with Baxter the Beagle, the Garcias with 3 rescue cats, Mr. Johnson with his ancient tortoise, Methuselah. "We saw on the community Facebook page you were opening," Mrs. Peterson explained. No one wanted to miss it. By lunch, we'd registered over 70 pets. By closing, over 140. Clients brought cookies, cards, and a family-delivered pizza for the staff. Each gesture, a child's drawing, a heartfelt, "We followed you, Dr. Riley," wove a tapestry of support that left me breathless. The next week, a text from an Oakwood colleague hinted at Brightpaw's unraveling. "Emergency meeting tomorrow, schedules empty." Riverbank, meanwhile, thrived. We expanded hours, hired extra staff, and by month's end, over 800 pets, 70% of Oakwood's former clients, filled our system. Word of mouth, fueled by neighborhood pet groups and a local paper ad, drove the influx. "Everyone's talking about how you stood up to that corporate chain," a client said, her Labrador puppy squirming. I hadn't meant to become a symbol, but Lexington embraced Riverbank's transparent fees and personalized care, a stark contrast to Brightpaw's price gouging. 3 months in, Dr. Harrington, Oakwood's retired founder, visited. "You've created something special, Riley," he said, surveying the bustling clinic. "I should have approached you before selling." I squeezed his arm. It worked out as it should. Clients greeted him warmly, their loyalty to Riverbank a bridge to Oakwood's past. That afternoon, an email from Brian Hayes landed in my inbox, requesting a meeting to discuss Lexington's veterinary landscape. I smiled, typing a reply from my office, surrounded by wagging tails and purring patients. "Available next Tuesday, 2 p.m. His earlier words, "just business," echoed, now hollow against Riverbank's success. I'd built more than a practice. I'd crafted a sanctuary where trust was currency, where every pet and family mattered. As I saved a client file, a photo on my desk, a child's drawing of me with her kitten, caught my eye. This was the place I was always meant to create, a legacy of care that no corporate spreadsheet could erase. As I sit in my office, surrounded by the hum of a practice that Lexington's pet families helped me build, I realize the truest lesson life has etched into my soul. Courage isn't the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. I'm Riley Thompson, a 35-year-old veterinarian who learned that standing for what matters, trust, integrity, the quiet bonds between people and their animals, requires risking the comfort of the known for the uncertainty of a dream. There were nights when doubt gnawed at me, whispering that I'd lose everything by defying a system that saw care as a commodity. Yet every time I wavered, I thought of the families who entrusted me with their pets' lives, of the wagging tails and purring hearts that deserved more than a corporate checklist. That trust, fragile as a kitten's first breath, became my compass. It taught me that real strength lies in building something true, even when the path is steep and the stakes feel crushing. I learned to lean on the community I'd served, to trust that they'd see my heart in every choice I made. Their loyalty, like a patchwork quilt stitched with shared moments, showed me that no force, no matter how powerful, can break the bonds forged by genuine care. This lesson isn't just about my work, it's about life. Whether it's a veterinarian in Kentucky or a teacher in a small town, we all face moments where we must choose between bending to pressure or standing tall for what's right. I've learned that the risk of action, though daunting, paves the way for a legacy that endures, not in profits or titles, but in the lives we touch. Now, when I look at the drawings pinned to my fridge, sent by children whose pets I've saved, I know that courage, fueled by trust, can transform a single choice into a beacon for others. It's a lesson I'll carry forever, a reminder that the heart of any fight is the belief that what we build together is worth every step through the dark.